chi-square. F is to investigate whether gender and drinks beverage in a university is related. For the hypothesis, HO is a gender and drinks preference are independent, which is not related. H1 is a gender or drinks and drinks preference are dependent, which is related. This is the data, which is the sample of students by 50 with the gender male and female and drink and beverage, which is coffee, juice, and tea. Okay. Now we go to the pivot table. First, go to insert and click pivot table. The data that we use in the pivot table, which is gender and beverage, drink and beverage. Sorry. The location I will put at this at existing worksheet. Okay. For the gender, I will put at rows, and drink and beverage I will put at column. In order to get the value, I will put drink and beverage at the value. Now we go to the observed frequency. This is the observed frequency table. To get the value, the observed frequency, the value is the same like pivot table. So we can copy the number or the value in pivot table and paste in observed frequency. So this is the observed frequency table. Now we go to the expected frequency. To get the expected frequency value, we will use the formula of grand total of row times grand total column divided by total number of observations. Total number of observations. Okay, first, grand total of row 1 times grand column 1 divided by total number of observations. It is same goes to the male. It is same to the others. We will use the formula by manually. After I have finished all, the value. Okay. So in order to get the same grand total with observed frequency, okay, um, I will drag whole row and click auto sum, and it will give the same value with observed frequency. The same slot goes to the row 2, and also same goes to column, and it will give the same answer with observed frequency.
Okay, next we will find the chi-square value. To find the chi-square value, you will need to use the formula chi-square equal to total of observed minus expected power to 2. So I will show you how to find the value using the formula. Okay, so for the first cell, because this is a square or a power of 2, we will need to use the formula for power. You put two bracket. Observed frequency for female and coffee is 7 minus expected close bracket comma 2 close bracket divide by expected, enter. So the answer is 0.209. 0.209. You just have to copy and paste the formula for the rest of the cell and find the grand total for the chi-square value. There are two approaches in finding the hypothesis. First is critical value, and the second one is p-value. So to find the critical value, you just have to use the formula chi sq dot inv dot rt. For this formula, you will need both probability and degree of freedom. So let me show you how to find the probability and the degree of freedom. Probability is basically a significant value or the sigma, which is the 5%. For degree of freedom, you will have to use the formula row minus 1 multiply column minus 1. For row, we have 2, which are female and male. 2 minus 1. Column, we have 3, coffee, juice, and tea. 3 minus 1. 1 multiply 2 equal to 2. Okay, now we can use the formula chi sq dot inv dot rt. Probability is 0.05 and the degree of freedom is 2. Close bracket 5.99. For the critical value approach, as you can see here, if the chi-square is smaller than critical value, we fail to reject HO, while if a chi-square is bigger than critical value, we will reject HO. So here we can see that the chi-square is 0.759, which is way smaller than the critical value. The critical value. So we fail to reject HO. Next, for the p-value approach, we will use the formula chi_sq.test. In this formula, we need to use the actual range and expected range. For the actual range is actually observed frequency. So you just have to take here, comma, and the expected frequency, close bracket. The answer is 0.68. Okay, for the p-value approach, as you can see here, if p-value is smaller than the significant value or sigma, we will reject HO. If p-value is bigger than sigma, we fail to reject HO. In this case, the p-value is way bigger than the probability. So p-value bigger than sigma or probability. So we fail to reject HO. The conclusion that we can make and the hypothesis that we can choose for this data is gender and drinks preference are independent and not related. So you can put here the gender and drink preferences are not related or both are independent.
Two-sample hypothesis test is an independent group which is both sample with different mean. Such tests can determine the differences between two groups of customers, performance of two different outlet locations, two areas' property prices, and many other situations. For two-sample hypothesis test, we can apply the Excel analysis to analyze the respective hypothesis statistic test using the Excel procedure. Okay, this is the example data for two-sample hypothesis t-test. So the question is, the purchase order transaction with lead time shows the order placed by customer and the arrival time received by the customers. The lead time is the time between placement of order and the delivery of the fast food. Okay, the data consists of delivery time for fast food, which is McDonald's and KFC. Okay, the step to do two sample hypothesis. The step to do the two sample hypothesis t test is step first, hypothesis. HO must be lower or equal to 0. Meanwhile, H1 must be bigger than 0. Okay, for step 2, level of significance is 95% and sigma is 5%. Okay, even though in the question did not mention that the level of significance percentage, it was 95% and the sigma is 5%, which is 0.05.
Okay, for the next step, which is step 3, the data analysis. First, we must to choose the data and then pick the data analysis. Okay, next we must to choose the t-test to sample assuming unequal variance. This is because this data is the unequal variance. Then I choose OK, and then from this table, there are two variables, and for the first variable, I choose the McDonald's because we have two variables, and then for the second variables, we choose the KFC. And then we must to pick or tick on labels because so that on the data analysis that will show the labels on every data analysis. And then we must to change it to output range and here we must to choose where from where columns and where rows that we want to put our data analysis. Okay, I chose on the E16, and then I tick OK, and the data automatically will shown up on your Excel. Okay, next we must to highlight three things from this data analysis. First is T-stat. Um, T-stat, um, T-stat, PT to tail, and T critical. Okay, this is because the three things from this data that we will use on the next step, which is step 4. Okay, for the next step, which is step 4, the decision making. The critical value approach on the left is negative 2.02, and the critical value on the right is 2.02. The t-test is not within the rejection region since there are two tail tests. The t-statistic from the data analysis is a negative 1.29. It is failed to reject HO because the t-test is between the range of positive of critical value and negative of critical value. Next, for p-value, which is p-value of two tails, 0.2 is more or bigger than 0.05, which is the sigma. The p-value is bigger than the sigma. It is failed to reject the HO. And next, for the step 5, the evidence suggests that the delivery time of the fast food, McDonald's and KFC is similar.